Alright, hey everyone, Mr. K here. 8 directional movement today. Sorry about that. I'm recording on a different computer and nothing is working the way it should be. Anyway, this is going to be something similar to the Hotline Miami movement, Hotline Miami movement videos I did I don't know, about a year ago. I just basically cut out some of the stuff and we're going to focus only on the movement, not the mouse at all. So I have 2 UFOs set up. One of them is programmed with just the drag and drop method and the other one with coding, and we're going to compare them and see which one's, I guess, better. One's obviously going to be a little more user friendly for those who are new at GameMaker, but you want to, and I'll talk about this hopefully in a video that's coming up soon, you want to move away from the drag and drop and get it to GameMaker language as quickly as possible, just because things really start to open up for you and you have a lot more control over your game if you get away from just the drag and drop stuff. So the green one is the drag and drop, and 8 directional movement basically means up, down, left, right, and then you have all your diagonals. So this one is working, but there are a couple of bugs. One of the things that is a little bit tough to do when you have 8 direct, at least the way I have it set up with drag and drop, is that screen wrap doesn't work. I do have it programmed in. I'm using that drag and drop method for screen wrapping, but it just doesn't work, and I'll show you why in a little bit. The other thing is, and it might be tough for you to tell, I'm trying to hit the keys hard so you can hear them, but there's this little pause when I change directions. That's because when I play games like this, I tend to roll my keys a little bit. So if, like, I'm holding left, as I hit right, I'm trying to accentuate a little bit more. There's this brief instant where I have both the keys held down. So if I hold down both the keys, there's no movement. That's because they're canceling each other out. The movement I have for left is being canceled up by the movement I have going right. So it's not a huge deal depending on what you're doing, but it's definitely, for me, something that if you can fix it, you should fix it. So that's why I'm going to show you this other one that doesn't have that issue. It does not stop moving until all the keys are let go of. As long as you're holding something down, you will be moving. Nothing cancels each other out at all. And this one has screen wrap. So we're going to take a look at both the UFOs. They're already complete, so we'll just go through the code and that'll be it. We'll call it a day. So our 2 objects, we'll go over the drag and drop first. So I have everything event-based. My step, left, up, right, and down. So the step, we'll talk about in a second, but left, up, right, and down are all identical. We'll look at right, and what this all means is while any of these keys are being held down, we're going to jump to position. And jump to position basically means relative to where we are now, we're going to, in this case, move 5 pixels to the right. If you go to down, it's going to be 5 pixels down. If it's up, it's basically minus 5 pixels, so 5 pixels up. Same thing with left. Everything's relative, and that happens as long as you're holding down one of the keys. This is also the reason why the movement cancels each other out, because while you're holding down left, you're moving 5 pixels to the left. While you're holding down right, it's 5 pixels to the right. So negative 5 plus 5 is 0. You don't move anywhere. If there's a way to get around this using the drag and drop, I don't know it, but I want you to keep in mind you're very limited in what you can use. I know this kind of seems like a lot for those people who are new at this, but this is nothing. This is about 100 different things you can drag and drop in here. I won't even say functions because some of them are not functions at all, like these and else. Meanwhile, GameMaker has something like 1,000 different functions in it. So this really doesn't give you a lot of control over what you can do. But it'll work for basic stuff. In the step event is where I have the wrap in both directions. That's not working. The reason being is that this wrap in both directions function operates on objects that have a speed and direction. Because what happens is when it leaves the room, it takes note of its speed and its direction, mostly its direction, I guess, and uses that to translate it to the other side of the room. So if it leaves the left-hand side, well, we know what its direction is, where its speed is, and where it left. Oh, Someone's knocking on my door. I don't know why, but they left. They're moving to the left, and it registers that information and just puts it on the opposite side of the room. We don't have speed and direction. We're just moving it by pixels. So that means that this whole entire function is useless now. You could program this that when you hold down the left key, that you set the speed to set the horizontal speed to -5, set the vertical speed to -5, set the horizontal speed to 5. For down, set it to vertical speed to 5. You could do that, but then you run into the issue of, well, what happens when you let go of all the keys? You have to have some way of telling everything to stop. So the only workaround I've seen for that is if you do a key release, and then it just gets messy. You got 4 more events in there, and I should test it one day to see if that really works well. But again, move away from drag and drop. It's just not. It gets cumbersome after a while. You can have 8 different events just for your movement, and then in each of those 8 events, you're going to have one single action. It just I don't know. Seems messy to me. So let me show you the other one, the one I do like, and I'll admit I'm biased because I made it. So create event. Let's start there. Here we have a few variables: UFO speed, UFO DX, UFO DY. UFO speed hopefully is self-explanatory. That's how fast the UFO is going to move. 5 pixels per step. DX and DY, which are both set to 0. This is basically me declaring variables. We need these here because there are things in my code that look for them. So if these variables weren't there when the object is first created, we would have bugs. So this is going to represent our change in X and our change in Y, so how the UFO is going to move. So into the step event, and for the code, we got movement code and we got screen wrap. Movement code. So right at the top here, this is going to take care of all of our directional keys. In this case, I'm using W, A, S, and D. The other one's using up, down, left, and right, just so I can control both of them at the same time. But you can put whatever you want here. And here's how these work. Your keyboard check. When the W key is being held down, key up is going to register a 1 or a true. I actually forget which. I want to say 1. Yeah, it's a 1. Keyboard check, when you're holding down A, it's going to register a 1. Key down, same thing. Basically, when the keyboard's being pushed, it's going to register a 1. When it's not being pushed, a 0. What these do down here is they take a look at your key combinations and then tell you what's going on as far as left and right and then up and down movement. So let's look at left and right. If the left key is being held down, and this little symbol here means not, so if the left key is being held down and not the right key, we're going to move basically left in the negative speed, so that's going left, negative direction. If the left key is not being held down and the right key is, then move right. It's positive UFO speed, so it's direction to the right. If both keys are not being held down, set the speed to 0, so stop moving. And I shouldn't even say speed. We're not actually using speed. This is just going to basically make DX, how much we're going to move, by -5, 5, and 0. So in each of these 3 situations, we're saying this is how much we're going to move by. We're either going to move -5, we're either going to move 5, or we're not going to move at all. Now there's one combination of left and right in here that is not present, and that is when both keys are being held down. And that's left off for a reason. It's because of that whole rollover thing. I don't want that to do anything, because if I'm holding down left and I start to move my hands so that I hit the right key, I don't want it to stop my movement. I don't want anything to happen. I don't want to actually start moving right until I remove my finger from the left. So this way, since there's no event basically for holding down the left and right keys at the same time, nothing changes. If I'm holding down left but not right, and then all of a sudden I hit both keys at the same time, well, I'm still going to move left, and I'm going to continue to move left until I actually take my hand off of the left key, and then it's only the right key. download the script, play with it a little bit. It might help you understand it a bit more. I know it's kind of tough to wrap your head around it, but the fact that there's no event for holding down both keys at the same time allows the program to continue doing what it was doing until you're only holding down one of the keys or no keys whatsoever, because then you'll stop moving. And then with up and down, it's the same exact thing. The only difference is we're defining what our change in Y is going to be. So if you're holding that up, you're going to move up 5 pixels or whatever you have UFO speed set to be. If you're holding that key down but not the other one, you're going to go down. None of them, no change in Y. So we're determining our change in X and our change in Y, our horizontal change, our vertical change, and when all this is done, we actually apply that. We take our X variable, our X position, and add to it whatever our dx is and whatever our dy is. So in that case, up here, if it's -5, we're going to move left. If it's 5 here, we're going to move down 5. And since they're both happening at the same time, it allows for the 8 directional movement as well. Oh, that was a lot. I hope that made some kind of sense at least. I know this is kind of dizzying to look at, and I also realize I say that word a lot in these videos. I gotta come up with new words. But anyway, go back and listen to it again. Play with the script a little bit, but we basically have an event set up for every combination of left and right or up and down, with one exception where they're both being held down, which in that case, don't do anything because we want the rollover effect to happen. Okay. One last thing, screen wrap, and then this is it. Because screen wrap doesn't work, the built-in drag and drop function does not work when we're not using speed and direction. We need to take care of it ourselves. So what this does is basically takes a look at the bounding box of the actual sprite itself, and if that bounding box leaves the room, to basically just switch the X position, switch the Y position. So think of your sprite as a box. Okay, if the right hand side of the box is less than 0, so that means it's gone all the way off the side, take the X position and switch it to the room width, which is the opposite side. And then the opposite is true here. If the left hand side of the box goes greater than the room width, so all the way off the screen to the right, then change the X position to 0, so that means all the way off to the right, throws on the other side. And the same thing is true for our vertical. If the bottom of the box goes less than 0, so the top of the screen, switch it. If the top of the box goes off the bottom of the screen, flip it to 0. Okay, I think that's it. I'll run it one more time just so you can take a look at it, but as always, the project is going to be in the description. So here's the one that actually works. Try to hit the keys hard so you can hear that I'm holding down both of them, but it just continues. And then of course the screen wrap. So anyway, that's it. Please download the project, take a look at it, let me know what you think, and bye.